Late one gloomy evening, James stepped into the elevator, his mind preoccupied with the mundane task ahead of him. He needed to retrieve some forgotten files from the top floor of the aging office building he worked in. As the elevator began its slow ascent, James absently pushed the button for the 12th floor. The metallic doors slid shut with a faint clang, and the soft hum of the machinery began to rise. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting an antiseptic glow on the cramped space. At first, the ride was unremarkable, but as the seconds ticked by, an unsettling feeling began to creep over James. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Glancing around, he saw nothing out of the ordinary. The elevator was a typical, if slightly outdated, model, and the mirrored walls reflected back his own anxious face. Still, the unease persisted, prickling the back of his neck. Then suddenly, without any warning, the elevator lurched violently. The lights stuttered, plunging the small chamber into semi-darkness. The emergency brake screeched, grinding the elevator to an abrupt halt between floors. For a moment, everything was silent. James stared at the darkened ceiling, his heart pounding in his chest. Panic fluttered in his stomach as he fumbled for the call button, pressing it repeatedly, as if that could make the elevator operator magically appear. But all that met his ears was the hum of electricity and the distant echo of his own strained breathing. Suddenly, the metallic doors of the elevator slid open, revealing what appeared to be an endless labyrinth of identical yellow hallways. Their wallpaper peeled away from cracked walls that stretched as far as the eye could see into a nauseating distance. The harsh buzz of flickering fluorescent lights above buzzed like a swarm of angry insects, casting long, distorted shadows. Before James could even process what he was seeing, the elevator doors slammed shut behind him, trapping him in this bizarre and terrifying place. Stepping out of the elevator, James found himself in a suffocating labyrinth. The humming of the fluorescent lights was almost unbearable, and the air hung heavy with the stench of stale decay and something indefinably wrong. The vast expanse of yellow hallways stretched before him, each identical to the next. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the gloom, making the air thick and stagnant. He tried the door, expecting it to be locked, but it swung open easily. Empty, decaying rooms lay beyond, filled with cobwebs and the ghosts of memories. Some rooms held remnants of lives once lived here. A withered leather couch, a desk piled with yellowed papers. In others, cryptic messages were scrawled across the peeling walls. "Don't stay too long," they warned. "Turn back while you can." In the oppressive silence, James continued deeper into the labyrinth, his footsteps echoing ominously. Twisting and turning through the corridors, he found shattered clocks, with hands frozen at impossible angles. Pools of dark, oily liquid glistened under the harsh lighting, reflecting the wavering images of a world turned upside down. The temperature dropped noticeably, sending shivers down his spine. The heavy, humid air clung to him like a shroud, and the rhythmic drip of unseen water echoed around him. He tried to count the number of rooms he passed, but the sameness of them made it impossible. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions, a maddening panorama of unchanging scenery. As he walked, the oppressive weight of the labyrinth pressed in on him, threatening to crush his sanity. His initial fear now curdled into a deep, primal dread. Each step felt heavier than the last, and the labyrinth seemed to be closing in around him. Something was watching him, lurking in the shadows just beyond his sight. He could feel its presence, a malevolent consciousness that thrived in the darkness and fed on his terror. James turned quickly, startled, but saw nothing in the gloom. The hum of electricity was louder here, vibrating through the very walls and into his bones. The smell of mildew and decay intensified, making his eyes water. The floor beneath his feet was cold, hard concrete, yet it felt as though he were walking on a shifting, sinking bog. All around him, the walls pulsed and breathed, the yellow wallpaper rippling like water disturbed by an unseen current. The sound of footsteps echoed behind him, soft, deliberate steps that seemed to come from another time. At first he dismissed it, attributing it to his heightened state of anxiety. But when the footsteps grew louder, more purposeful, he knew he was not alone. Panic surged through him. Turning abruptly, he saw a silhouette dart through the dim lighting. It moved with unnatural speed, vanishing around the corner of a hallway just as he rounded it himself. Breathlessly, he called out into the unnerving silence, "Hello? Is anyone there?" His voice echoed unanswered, mocking his fear. Emerging into a larger chamber, James noticed a door partially concealed by a drooping wall panel. A faint glow emanated from beneath it, beckoning him closer. Pushing it open, he found himself in a stark control room filled with flickering monitors. Each screen displayed the same image, an unending series of yellow hallways stretching into the abyss. Cables snaked across the floor, humming with unnatural energy. Sitting hunched over a console in the flickering light was a gaunt figure. He was dressed in a dark suit that seemed out of place in this decaying setting. His eyes were fixed on James with a chilling intensity. "You shouldn't be here," the man said, his voice smooth and chilling. Startled, James took a step back, knocking over a chair in the confined space. The man in the control room regarded him impassively. "This is not your world. You are a trespasser in a place where time stands still." James shook his head, struggling to make sense of what he was seeing and hearing. "Where am I? What is this place?" The man in the control room smiled thinly. "This is my domain. I am the guardian of the Backrooms, the caretaker of lost souls who stumble into this timeless void between worlds." Understanding dawned on James. This place was not just a labyrinth. It was a prison, a purgatory where time had ceased to exist, and he was trapped within it. The man rose from his seat and approached the edge of the control panel. His eyes gleamed with an eerie light. "I have been waiting for you, James. I knew you would come here seeking answers, seeking a way out. But there is no escape from the Backrooms. Only madness and eternal solitude await." Fear tightened its grip on James, but he refused to give in. He had come too far, endured too much to turn back now. Gathering his courage, he lunged for the control panel, smashing buttons, yanking wires, triggering alarms. The screens flickered wildly, showing corridors collapsing into themselves. The hum of electricity grew louder, shaking the very foundation of the control room. The man gasped, his composure breaking for a moment. "What are you doing? Stop it! You cannot destroy the Backrooms. It is beyond your comprehension." But James was relentless. He smashed the console, sending sparks flying. As the control room began to dissolve into light and sound, James turned and sprinted through collapsing corridors. Debris rained down around him, but he didn't dare slow down. Behind him, he heard the man screaming in rage and despair as the Backrooms crumbled around him. Emerging from the elevator in the lobby of the building, James gasped for air, his heart hammering in his chest. He looked back, but the elevator was just a nondescript metal box again, the sign above reading, "Elevator out of service." James shivered, the memory of the Backrooms clinging to him like a bad dream. He had escaped, but the experience left him shaken. The friendly confines of his workplace seemed strange and unfamiliar after his journey through the infinite maze. The fluorescent lights hummed, but it was a comforting sound compared to the cacophony of the Backrooms. The gentle sway of the elevator was reassuring. James realized that he would never forget the Backrooms, the endless yellow hallways, or the haunting gaze of the operator. But now he knew he wasn't trapped there. He had the power to leave whenever he wanted, and that realization brought a measure of peace. He had faced the labyrinth and emerged victorious, forever changed by his journey through the void between worlds.